Don't swear. Hello, YouTube. Back again. Could you put my channel on?
Mhm.
Hello. Is there anybody out there? Hello. Welcome back. Can you hear me? Hello. We're back. Sorry about earlier. What's up? We're back. The wife's back. Hello.
How's it going, man?
Good. Can everybody hear us? Can you hear you? Say something. I want to see. Can I hear you?
Hi.
Turn the volume up all the way. I don't know if that really makes a difference as far as the microphone. But, and let's see. Put that down there. Do you find a way to set this up? Yeah.
So, probably.
Yeah, well, I'm holding it right now. Just gotta let a few more people jump in.
Yeah, Dan says he can hear us.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I apologize once again. Me and Max, we're just out here. We were talking, and next thing I know, my screen froze up, and then it just died, shut down. Not the phone, just the stream. So I don't know if that was something to do with my phone, or if that was YouTube, or.
Hi, Trenton. Trenton says, I triggered everyone in California. They were chasing me down with their Prius, and they all had purple hair. Gotta look out for the ones with purple hair.
You don't have to worry about that. Next 5 days, the power's going to be out, so their Priuses won't work.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. And have to get on their bikes. Those stupid little e-scooters won't even work. Yeah.
How'd you trigger them?
It's not hard to trigger them.
No.
No.
I know, that's why I'm curious.
Yeah.
What were you guys talking about earlier?
Well, I was talking about what happened to Max and how we put him back in school and took him out and what led up to that. Talked about Rhea. Started off with Super Stalker.
Great.
And then went to the throwdown in the locker room.
And then the
And
throwdown in the
then
lunchroom?
the throwdown in the lunchroom. I didn't even get to the best part of that, and the live stream froze up. And of course, I was talking about everything that's been going on with Trump, with the White House, with the started off with him and his tweet saying that the more he looked into impeachment,
Yeah, the more.
the more he believed it was a coup.
Mhm.
And then, not even 2 days after that, the activation of the um, Marine reserves, and then the sightings of the U.S. The UN troops
Right.
in the heartland of the United States and California, and um, how they're all located in predominantly Trump supporting areas. And then I talked about the power outage. I don't know if you're aware of this because you haven't watched really any videos today, but
Mm.
California, PG&E, their power company, supposedly said that they're turning out the power for 5 days in Northern California because they're afraid of fire, right?
Yeah.
But when you put what Trump said, the activation of the Marines, the UN troops, and now the power outage, a lot of people don't remember that that's where the new California Republic has been doing.
Right. So those are
their
the people who actually are not
right,
demon rats.
right, and they were been trying to succeed from California for a while. They want to divide California north and south. See, Southern California would be where all the demon rats are, and then Northern California would be the new California Republic. Um, and I have not seen them do any streams lately or videos. Remember how they, in order to do it all legal, they had to once every couple weeks go um, to the local government, whether it be their roundhouse like it is here in New Mexico,
Yeah.
and read their grievances.
Right.
Right, they haven't been doing that. Well, they
Well,
might
they
be.
might
I,
be
I
doing it,
haven't.
but they're not live
Right.
streaming it, or their
Well,
live streams being shut down.
well, when the phone was not on, I haven't really been keeping up with it, so I have no clue what's going on with that. But
So we Maximilian High. He said, "What are your thoughts on incoming asteroids?" And Trenton says he was wearing an orange shirt. That's all it took. And Dan says mass riots are going to break out and crime's going to skyrocket for sure.
absolutely.
And that's what they're hoping for, so that then they can.
I believe we are in the shit right now.
Nice to see. Hi. So I haven't heard anything about asteroids. Have you?
Yeah, yeah, they're constantly zooming by us. There's one just a couple days ago. Who was it? I saw it on maybe it was Dabu 7
Yeah.
or something like that.
Well, September was supposed to be like the month of meteor showers. Like every week was another meteor shower.
Hmm.
And then, of course, every night the sky was completely covered, so you couldn't see them.
No. Oh, but I believe in asteroids. I believe that it's just a matter of time, not if.
Yeah.
It's just when.
Right, and that's in the Bible too.
Hmm.
And Dan says they're gonna take the firearms during the blackout, like Katrina's.
That's
Yep.
what I was thinking.
Yep.
I was honestly thinking that they were going to go after those people. You know, um, the new California people. They might be. I mean, that'd be the perfect time.
Right. I wonder if there are any UN troops there. Did we ever go to that website and find out where they actually are?
Nah, no. The Dave Hodges website? No, I have not.
Okay, so the Dave Hodges website, not his YouTube channel, but his actual website, has he said he was gonna write it all up where all the UN troops are being put within the heartland of the country. So if you're interested in that, we haven't actually looked it up yet, but definitely check him out. Trenton says, I think the government in California doesn't want to admit that they're running out of resources and they can't power their citizens there anymore.
Absolutely.
I used to see in Northern California too, Trenton Bay area, the stores have massive lines. Also, the gas station is price gouging. Of course they are. Kick them when they're down.
Yep, they're going to start their own, was it like self-fulfilling prophecy, by turning the lights off. It's gonna wreak havoc. And the thieves that been listening know that the power gonna be out.
Right. Right.
Nothing good's gonna come from this.
Right. And anybody that tries to defend themselves in their own home against these thieves are going to be criminalized, of course.
Yep.
Almost 80 to fuel up. $80 to fuel up.
Holy crap. Almost in stereo.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Oh my God, that's insane. Those poor people.
Well, poor eyes to see in Trenton.
Man.
Yeah. It's not good out there. Nothing, everything, you guys all know it. I don't have to say it.
Honestly, if you live in Northern California, I would get out of there. I'd get out, go camping someplace, visit a relative out of state.
You can come camp here.
Yeah, come camp here.
We're camping.
Every night.
Every night. Gavin Newsom on TV wants to tax everybody so he could go to the casino. Of course. They're not changing their lifestyles. I mean, it's the same thing in Venezuela. All the people at the top are living it up while everybody else is not.
Oh, that's another thing I was talking about. All the chaos between that's going on. I mean, Hong Kong going on. France is still going on. Venezuela is still going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world just is fighting globalism.
Right. And all the stuff
everywhere.
in South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa.
I don't know if
Well,
they're
South Africa's not fighting globalism. They're just,
killing people.
yeah, killing people. They've gone crazy. Um, that land reappropriation act that
Yeah,
they
they want to give
passed,
it back to
give
them.
it back to the South African people, but they're gonna kill all the
ICC is looking
white
for
farmers.
land out in the Midwest.
Yeah, well, you could be our neighbor. There's tons of lots up here where we live. People buying them every day. I was complaining about that too. Everyone moving
So
in
now
on
you're
us.
inviting people. Come on.
Might as well. I
Well,
mean, we're gonna
we want the right
populate.
kind of people.
Right,
Right.
the right kind of
That's
people.
true. Because
Even if you don't like Trump, just as long as you're on the right side,
hmm
you know, because personally, I mean, I honestly believe right side, left side, they're both controlled by one beast. But I do lean more conservative. As far as liking Trump, I don't know.
Well, I just think that if you don't want them to teach your kids in school that pedophilia is
Right,
a sexual preference, it's a lifestyle choice,
right,
and that start teaching 3-year-olds about gender, so that they can be even more confused,
right. I don't hate Trump,
or
but
killing babies when
love
they're
Trump
full
either
term and
way.
then calling it abortion.
He's definitely better than Hillary. Mm,
So far, he's been better than all of them. I
yeah,
mean, he's done everything he said he was gonna do, or at least trying to. I mean, it all looks
right,
good, but sometimes if it's too good to be true, maybe it isn't. So that's
right,
what scares me.
right. And I've always believed that nobody sits in that office without being put there by the Fed.
Right. And if the Simpsons can predict it, then we know there's a problem.
Yeah, it's just messed up.
So
And
I
there's
should,
definitely going to be a civil war. I honestly believe we're in a civil war right now. You know, I mean, if I had my way, it'd be more of a revolution. Both parties need to go. We need a complete clean slate. You know,
right.
no more left, no more right. Need to put regular people who know that they're representatives and not lawmakers. You
Right.
know, oh shoot, I can't remember his name, but he made a good point too. Because I don't remember them ever changing that. These people in the government are supposed to be representatives, but now they call themselves lawmakers.
Right.
You know,
They make the rules.
right, and that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right. Did
You
you
know,
talk about the thing with the Supreme Court there and all those senators who are like trying to intimidate the
all
Supreme
the
Court?
Democratic senators who threaten the people in the Supreme Court. No, I didn't get to that. Um, I didn't get to that. I didn't get to all that gun legislation. If you guys are Second Amendment supporters and you want the best, as far as I'm concerned, Second Amendment news you can get, that would be that guy from Guns and Gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
He really,
Is on top
really
of it.
does
Yeah.
a good job. Shout out to him, Guns and Gadget. That guy, he's a masshole, just like me,
Yeah.
me and Mama here.
Dan wants to know why we moved from the Northeast to the land of enchantment. Yeah, ISSC says he's great. It just
From Massachusetts.
yeah. Well, we didn't really. We were gonna throw a dart at the map and go wherever. We chose New Mexico because Tom's sister is out here. We thought that would be good. We'd have some family. Well, you know how family can be. So that didn't really work out. But there were a lot of reasons. And in Massachusetts, you can't even defend yourself there. I mean, it's the cost of living is ridiculous. I describe the energy there like the mall at Christmas time all the time. People are just so miserable. And it's contagious. And
Not everybody. There are a few people like us who are still stuck there, unfortunately, but that state will suck your soul dry.
right,
They're
because
energy
it's bad.
energy sucking vampires. They're and it's just the tax on everything. I mean, coming from Massachusetts, where a tea tax started the revolution, they have more taxes for the same things. They're quadruple taxed on stuff. just their road taxes alone, you have an excise tax for your vehicle you got to pay every year, which is based off the value of the car. It's a road tax. There's a special tax that you get when you buy tires in Massachusetts. That's a road tax.
Right. If you
They
get a
have a
certain vehicle, then you have to pay more tax because it's
right.
a luxury tax. And
Yep.
I mean, it's not just the taxes and the money, though. It's the fact that you are not allowed to defend yourself there.
Well,
There's
that's
this
a
equal force thing. Well, that was a big thing for
yeah,
me.
but yes, I'm a big Second Amendment supporter. I love my guns.
I like to be able
But
to defend myself. I mean, there was a woman who, honestly, she was defending herself from a home invasion, and she beat the man with a frying pan, and they charged her because he didn't have a weapon, as it turns out, but he was like 10 times the size of her. And then he was allowed to sue her in civil court. I mean, she's cooking dinner for her children. She's a single mom. This guy's probably staking the place out, knows it, and then comes in and attacks her. She defends herself. She gets the upper hand, beats him with the frying pan, and then she gets in trouble for that. That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't want to live someplace where you can't defend yourself in your own home.
yeah. And there's other things too, but yeah, we could have went anywhere. But my sister lived out here, and we thought, you know, Lorene here
Okay,
was
so let's catch
close
up
with my
here.
mom, and thought if we moved to New Mexico during the holidays and stuff like that, and my mother wouldn't have to
And
choose who to go visit, either me or my sister. And
yeah, Trump does support the red laws. He's talking about red flag laws and
yep,
all of that. Hi,
absolutely,
Susan. The bugs are okay. I mean, we've
no
been,
bugs.
well, there are bugs. There's plenty of
No, there's
bugs.
only flies really. There's no mosquitoes. There's no gnats. There's
Okay.
no.
But there are like scorpions. Those aren't in the Northeast. But I just don't see a lot of them. They don't bother me.
No, they hide. They're
Yeah,
not.
they're more afraid of you than you are them, I think. So,
When someone says how's
hi,
the bugs, though, I
Dustin.
automatically think like,
Yeah.
mosquitoes and
Yeah, we've
stuff
had
like
some
that.
this year though because we've had more rain, but still nothing like the Northeast. So Dustin's in Los Angeles. He's anti-liberal. When did you say that P&G would turn off the power?
Yeah, Peony came out. They did not come out. The news in California came out right about now. It's all over the internet. This is old news I'm breaking. But they came out today and said that they're expecting high winds, so that's a fire danger, and they don't want anything catching on fire, so they're going to shut the power down for 5 days. Yeah. Even the news, even their local news had a hard time swallowing that because they were questioning why. And then they said, well, it could be like over 72 hours, the power's going to be out. And then it's going to be another 72 hours after that. We have to check to make sure that when we put the power back on, we're not going to cause any fires. And they're not going to do it all at once. So they'll start turning it on in certain locations at certain times. But a huge portion of the northern part of California is going to be lights out starting. What's today? Today,
Well,
Wednesday.
John says local news is saying midnight, but
Yep.
some won't be off until noon tomorrow.
Right. Now, who was it? Brian from High Impact Vlogs. He was researching like what the weather's supposed to be like. And he's like, what the hell are they talking about? They didn't even call for like very high winds to be for the next 5 days. So something definitely
Doesn't add up.
doesn't add up. And when you start trying to piece the puzzle together, like what Trump said about the coup, the activation of the Marine reserves, which loyal to Trump, the UN soldiers being in predominantly strong Trump supporting towns, cities, and areas. What was that lady's name that was saying, oh, we need to arrest Trump and his cabinet and put them in prison?
I don't know.
Where are we going to put them?
I don't listen to those
right.
people.
Anyways, I do believe, and I'm not the one that put it out there. It was somebody else. I think it was actually Dave Hodges, that they're going to try making a move on Trump, whether it's going to be arrest him, impeach him, or even worse.
Right, because that's what they're putting those UN people in place, in places where Trump supporters are, so that when they do whatever they're going to do to him and people who support him
Start uprising.
then they'll be there to squash them. That's a theory that, you know, Tom had thought about on his own, and then it was corroborated, you know, by other people.
Dave Hodges, yeah.
Yeah,
Dave
but there was
Hodges,
somebody
yeah.
else too.
Yeah.
Susan says she's in Fremont, and I didn't have nothing. Let's see how this works. Just got a job, but so much going on with kids. Don't know if I can go, but I have tried. Yeah, it seems like even if you have a job in California, you can't afford to live.
I mean, they're screwing everybody. That's business. That's 5 days your business is going to be out of business in California.
All right. Well, they
because the
don't care
power's
about
up.
people. They
No.
just care about
And
themselves.
like I said, you have all those.
And then Dan says people in
thieves and-
California are going to prison for shooting burglars in their own home.
Yep.
And Trenton's in agreement. People should be able to protect themselves.
Amen.
Nah.
Mm.
Susan says, waiting to see how people will share. If not, sit down and get it. Yeah, I hope people will share. But there's also been things like in Florida and some other places where there's been natural disasters. They've come out and they've made it illegal for you to help your neighbor. They want to force you to have to go to registered
Yeah.
agencies like the Red Cross and things like that. And then, you have that homeless guy that was in the hurricane Harvey, which, there's still tons of people missing from that.
Yep.
And we'd never hear another thing about that. They want to talk about, Trump said this, or we don't like this, or
Never mind.
and you
Remember
don't
that?
hear about the people, the actual people that were in this hurricane and, were rescued, and this guy, he's like, oh, I didn't go into that shelter because they were killing people there. And you don't hear anything. Oh, he's just a crazy homeless guy. Don't listen to him.
You remember that ship, that Chinese ship they found with all the bodies on it?
Yeah, and then there was
all
that,
the dead bodies?
yeah.
Right.
And there could have been the hurricane survivors, or well, not survivors
Right.
anymore.
Mhm.
But then there was a guy around the same time. Hawaii had some kind of thing going on,
And they brought the FEMA barge.
and they brought the FEMA barge, and this guy escaped. Now, I don't understand why he would have to escape if they're there to help people, but he escaped, and they hunted that guy down.
Mhm.
Like he knew something,
Right.
and you never heard about him
Well,
again
he-
either.
He said that they were taking the ships out into the sea and dumping the containers
Mhm.
into the ocean.
hmm
This is all part of
Yeah.
the depopulation plan.
John Smith says 2 major tunnels in San Francisco being shut down. JW TV was
Why?
just doing something about that,
Right.
something to do with the tunnels being shut down and the power being shut off.
Well, just because the power's off, you can still drive through the tunnel with headlights.
Oh, yeah, but apparently,
Something else much, much bigger is going on.
right.
Something much, much bigger is going on.
Don't make
We're
me
not
swim, dude.
stupid. Don't make me.
I wish California would just sink into the ocean, Trenton said. Susan says, don't make me swim, dude. Get a boat. Or steal a governor's. He probably has a yacht.
Honestly, I got a bad feeling about what's going on, and
Yeah.
if you live in Northern California, I'd honestly consider taking a trip. Shoot, come out and visit us. We'll,
Take your valuables, though, because you come home, they won't be there.
right.
Matt says,
I got 7 acres of land. Bring a tent or a camper. You guys stay here.
weather weapons. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things that have happened. So many things that have happened in such a short time.
A real short period of time.
From these shootings where people see more than one shooter, but the news reports, nope, it was only one.
Right.
Even after some have reported that it was more than one.
You're a
And then there are people who witnessed it,
Right.
and they end up dead because they are going against what the news says. And you never hear about that again. And then from these weather disasters where, we don't know really what happened. We just never really know the whole story. And then we never get to it because they want to move us right on to some other distraction. And most of it's just like a high school popularity game. Like, we don't like him, so you don't support us, then you're a racist. Or whatever. It's a bunch of crap to not get us to see what's really happening. And what's really happening is they are trying to destroy
The United
our
States.
country. They're trying to
Bring us down.
divide us as people, as citizens.
They already did that. That's
Well, no,
done.
because there's a lot of us who are still on the same page, and we could be united if we talk more.
But some of them are so far gone.
Hi
There are
from Bangor.
so many people that are on the left that they just, you can't bring them back.
Yes, Susan, Jesus is the way for sure.
You know, Max was telling me a funny joke, man. He supposedly said he came up with this all on his own.
Well, don't be surprised.
Right.
He's a smart boy.
He did. You know, how do you fix somebody with a dirty mind?
I don't know.
Brainwash them.
Max came up with that for sure.
Yeah,
That's
you
so-
got a dirty mind. What do you do?
You wash it. You wash your mind. Yeah. Get naked, don't hide your hands, and walk slowly.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Yep.
It's just too much all at once, and they just keep flooding more and more stuff in, and it's all, you're just finding out about things like, I saw this video about what happened, was it Sandy Hook where all the little kids got shot, right? Where they said all the little kids got shot. Right
Oh.
before that, there was, well, the same time as that
Mm.
happened, there was a FEMA, training or whatever, drill. They were doing something right there. And that
Right,
seems to
that
be the
happens.
case with a lot of these shootings, quote unquote. And then,
Don't say anything's gonna get kicked off YouTube.
Okay.
You start talking about.
well,
certain
but there's
things.
just all these facts that come out later on. There are people that all their mortgages got paid off. Everybody in the whole area's mortgages got paid.
Well, you're gonna turn me into the next Alex Jones. So
Well, I'm
move
just
on from
saying,
that.
like, these things come out, like, there's so much stuff, and then you're trying to, like, figure out that one. Was it real? Was it not? I'm not saying it wasn't for anybody who thinks that I am. I'm just saying you don't have the time to actually research it to figure out if it was or wasn't. You're just supposed to believe whatever they tell you. And then, of course, if you don't, well, then you'll be silenced.
I take the Joe Biden. Don't tell me the facts. Just tell me the truth.
Right, make up my truth. Oh, like the lady, the counselor at the school. We totally caught her in a lie, called her out on it. She, of course, didn't want to discuss that.
Lied
And
like
then she
4
said,
times.
well, that's your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I said, okay, that's true. My truth. But then there's reality. Can we just live there?
Mm.
But no, nobody wants to live there.
Mm.
Mr. Frank, hi. Gray, China is buying a lot of land on the West Coast, yet they own a lot.
They own the West Coast.
And then isn't there some county out there where, like, the local police have to get permission and they get escorted by,
It's a-
like, Chinese mafia type people to be able to do police business in that area. Again, I don't know if this is true.
Right.
These are things that we're
Well,
hearing.
that came from a sheriff. The sheriff said that. He
Right.
did the interview. And I guess it's someplace where there's it's in Northern California, there's a lot of agriculture. They bought a lot of land in the United States to farm and ship the food back home. And I mean, that's just one. I mean, there've been those no-go zones in the United States now for years, from radical Islamic people to the Chinese to even the Russians that we were training that we brought over here.
Geez.
You know?
We have lots of different sleeper cells, don't
Yeah,
we?
we do. We are
We
screwed.
have a lot to worry about.
We were
That-
sold out.
What prophecy was it that talked about the whole world coming against her? Was that the
The
George
whole world united against her shall not prevail.
Right, shall
That's
not
of
prevail.
George Washington.
But it is through divine providence
Right.
that they don't. So Jesus is still the way.
Right.
Susan.
That's the George Washington vision at Valley Forge. It's a prophecy, and it has come true. True.
Yeah.
The George Washington's vision at Valley
I'm
Forge.
gonna look into that, John. Thank
and the Mormon White Horse prophecy.
you. Joseph Smith.
Joseph Smith. Those two prophecies have been right on. They've
Right.
hit the nail right on the head
This
to a T.
Constitution will hang by a thread.
Mhm.
We're living that, and that's in one of those prophecies. I think it's Joseph Smith's.
Yep.
The Constitution will hang by a thread.
And the only safe place is where we live. That he called it the mountains of peace and safety, and they are the most southern west. How did he say it was the southwest portion of the Rocky Mountains?
Yeah,
Right.
no, it was the mountains that are southwest, that are west of the southernmost tip of the Rocky Mountains,
Right.
which at one point Google put a bullseye right over the Jemez Mountains, but now when you look it up, it's just not the same. Sarah, thank you for asking. Max is in 4th grade.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Gots to drive home from work. Hope you stay safe. Okay, you too, Mr. Frank. Gray says, recently in LA, where a lot of ex-Chinese lives, a crazy communist impersonated the Chinese secret police to scare the immigrants. He got arrested. Of course he did.
yeah. You know, South Park. They just did. Mark Dice was talking about this morning. Mark Dice did a video this morning. For those of you who watch Mark Dice, it was a great little clip on how China
Owns Hollywood.
owns Hollywood, and after South Park put that episode out, China deleted everything South Park
in China. So that nobody in China could see any
even
South Park.
the blogs. You can't even talk about it no more. And the scary part about it is the UN has delegated that China is like the model the world should be following. You know, that everyone should be doing what China's doing.
Right, and China's the one with the social credit scores and the facial recognition cameras everywhere. And
you got it.
And I mean, those people, gosh, if you say we're worried about what we're saying, and we shouldn't have to
No,
in
shouldn't
the
have to.
land of the free and the home of the brave, right?
Right.
But we have to be very worried about the things we say. And in New York, it's a 250 that they deem hate speech, and they can deem anything as hate speech. So
That's right.
it's illegal to hire an illegal alien. You'll get in trouble if you do that. So as an employer in New York, if you say, I'm sorry, I cannot hire you because you're illegal, they can get you for a $250,000 fine because you told somebody who's an illegal alien that they're an illegal. You know what I mean? There's like no common sense left.
We don't have freedom of speech no more.
No, we don't.
Just being afraid to talk on YouTube's proof. I mean,
right.
You know,
right.
we gave up our freedom of speech a long time ago, and it's sad. The world we are leaving for our children, for Max, for Rhea, for Keegan. You know.
Good night, Susan.
For all your kids.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And we do have to worry about the future for our children. We really do.
Yep.
So it's not like we can just say, oh, it's my dad. Well, I'm going to die soon, so I don't really care.
Right.
That's the attitude that I think a lot of people have had. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me, so I don't care.
I'm worried about what my kids are going on. I don't want my kids living in communist China and the United States. Nope, I don't. I believe in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I think our forefathers were some of the smartest men out there. I guess you can call me a constitutionalist more than Democrat or Republican.
Right.
I am a constitutionalist. I honestly believe that if we had the 10 Commandments and the original 10 Bill of Rights, I think we'd be fine.
Right.
I think
and
if
if
the
we
government
applied them equally across the board, we didn't pick and choose who we wanted to apply them to, right? Because that's where racism and that stuff gets brought up. If we're all equal under God and under the Constitution, then the laws apply to all of us the same. It doesn't matter how much money we have to, because there's a lot of things that people don't want to talk about either. Because at some point, if you have enough money, it doesn't matter what race or color or whatever you are, what religion you have, whatever. That doesn't matter as long as you have enough money. You can do whatever you want. But anybody below a certain amount, well, then you're held accountable based off of whatever criteria is the most trending at the moment.
It's not good. It's not good what's happened. We we have already lost our country. Now we have to fight to get it back. You know,
Yeah.
they're talking about that. Who was that? JWTV about that march in Washington, the Patriot March on
The
Washington, or
militia
the militia
march.
march around the 17th. You know, that's not good. You know how easy it is for them to be putting agitators in.
Yeah. And then
You
it's
know,
like fish in a barrel. It's like
that's
getting them
right.
all in one place, right? Take your biggest threat, bring them all to one place, and get rid of them. I mean, if somebody like me who has no strategy for those kinds of things could think that's not a good idea, then of course the people who think evil like that, well, they're
The
thinking
people
it.
who think that when shit does hit the fan, that they're not gonna
17th of October, loving life.
right. But
Welcome.
these people who think, oh, I'm not going to get involved. It's not going to bother me, especially men and kids between the ages of 16 and 55. They forget
Yeah.
under the Constitution that any man
I'm just gonna
between the
call this
ages
one
of
Q.
from 16 to 55 is automatically considered part of the militia in the United States. You listening right now, if you're between the ages of 16 and 55, you are the militia. And if we go to war with anybody, if China invades, Russia invades, or we just have a civil war, you know, between the Democrats and the Republicans, any man between the ages of 16 and 55 will automatically be considered a combative.
Right. So even if you don't want to fight or have
Even
no
if you
interest
don't
in it,
want to fight, you're going to be considered a combative.
so the people
Fighting
on
age.
right, if they think you're not on their side, they'll just take you out. So QQ, that's what I'm gonna call you. QQ trick. uh, since JFK, it's been them, the people. Yeah.
They have forgotten that they're supposed to be representatives
Yeah.
and do, it's like owning a business, you know. You can't be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you hire people, managers, to do that for you. And then the managers decide, something,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to take this over.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my business.
Mm-hmm.
You come to work, say, hey, what's going on? And they're like, oh, none of your business.
Right, right. The employees.
Right.
Well, it's like the lunatics are running the asylum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're living in. Yeah. And Sarah says it's the Zionists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
It's none of your business. Just give me my paycheck. Give me my paycheck.
Yeah. There's a reason. There is a reason why the Zionist Jews have been thrown out of all the countries and
Oh, there you
hated.
go. Now you're gonna get me kicked off YouTube again.
Well, there's a reason. It's not all of them. She's not saying every person.
I know. It's just those
And again,
stupid keywords that AI picks up.
yeah. Well.
I'm afraid to even talk.
Well, I don't want to be
It's sad.
afraid. I don't
I
want to
know
live in
it's sad.
fear.
Say what you want. They delete us. They delete us. We make another channel, but
Yeah, it's just sad.
I mean, it's already half my stuff not even monetized. I finally, when I got to a place where I could monetize my channel, I monetized it. But
Yeah. And
and-
for simple things like telling people that we live in a republic, not a democracy, you get demonetized.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how that's hate speech.
Right.
But
right.
that's
just the
hate
title
speech.
of my video was "We are a republic, not a democracy," and they kicked that video off, demonetized it, got rid of it. And I'm not a very big channel.
Ray, I hope that they use that laser in the right direction. That's all I'm worried about. He says, we have laser weapons, and I feel sorry for those going against the Constitution. Yep, I hope so. I just hope it's not the deep state or whoever that has the laser pointed at us.
Yep. It's not good. It's really not. It's really not good. I think it's all going down now.
May the algorithm be with you.
I snorted. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. But
all politicians lie, and they are out of touch. Of course they are. And they all take bribes. I mean, then when you become a politician, you do it on the grounds of like, oh, I want to help my community. I want to make it better for the people around me, right? You're supposed to be their voice, but none of them do it. I mean, Tommy pointed out a long time ago, he said, who spends $600 million to get a job making what? Somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 a year.
That's it.
You don't spend that kind of money to get a job where you will not even get the money that you invested in that election.
Right.
back.
Anybody who did investments or banking or somebody would tell you, oh no, that's a bad deal.
Right. So what is in it for them? Well, what's in it for them? Then they get, clout. Like, so my dad worked at this company for a long time. He was the stockroom manager. And as such, he did all the buying of all the supplies for this company. And so, of course, all the salesmen came in and said, hey, if you buy from us and not them, we'll give you tickets to the Red Sox game, or we'll take you out to golf. Or they just get to know him and find out
No,
what
you
he
just threw
liked.
your dad under the bus,
Oh,
man.
whatever. He doesn't work there anymore. He's retired. It's over. It's done with. And I didn't say where he worked or who for. But the point is that's what they did. And, it's like a perk of the job.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure the people working for him, at least the higher ups, knew, because they got to take it. They went on the golfing trips and stuff too. So that's exactly what they do. They're like, okay, well, and then, some of them, we won't say who, so we don't trigger anybody, will say, well, yeah, if you give my son $1 billion and a $1 million job over here with your company, well, then, then you can have our $1 billion. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just ridiculous. That's why they do it. They don't do it because they care about the people, but that's how it's supposed to be. Nobody seems to care about people anymore.
If we have a civil war, it should end up turning into a revolution, because honestly, both parties, they both need to go. This left and right, they both need to go. And
Yeah,
people running for office
doctors
or
don't care either.
presidency, they shouldn't be allowed to run if they're not an average everyday Joe.
Somebody made a good point back here.
You can't relate to people
Let me find it.
if you're a billionaire and you've been raised a billionaire all your life. It's sort of hard to relate to somebody who's only been living off $20,000 a year.
Right. Right. You could never.
You can't. And these people, they can't run the country. It's like social workers who have never had a kid
right,
coming into your life trying to tell you how to friggin' raise your kids.
and they do it all the time. That same counselor at the schools never had kids. It's probably a good thing. John says 4-term limits for Congress members only pay the median income of U.S. citizens and make the intelligence agencies operate at a state level instead of a federal. That would help a ton. That'd be a good start. But I think people.
My days are done. This is all for the kids. Everything I do, buying the property, building the houses, it's all for the kids.
Well, we don't ever want to see we're homeless, and then the people that run that place want to take the money and not help the people who have paid into the system and worked there all their lives, who just need their own countries fixed.
You remember the bailout, the housing bailout?
Yeah.
We had enough money to buy every mortgage in the country, pay it off, right? So people could keep their houses. And what do? They give those bankers, right? Give all these bankers and the people that caused the problem all the money. We bail these assholes out. And then what do? Well, what do they do? You think they fixed it? No, they gave themselves all bonuses. You guys remember that? Here we go. We bail out these guys that caused a housing bubble, a crisis. Bail them out.
And then they give themselves bonuses.
Right. This stuff should not be allowed to happen anymore. It really, really shouldn't. It needs, the whole system needs to be restructured. It needs to be,
Sarah says Bernie Sanders is the only non-millionaire running and the only one who is not corrupted and will do what he says. He has a history to back it up. But Bernie's also for socialism.
Yeah.
And I'm just not, I don't think that somebody who works really hard should have to give their money away. I just don't think so. I mean,
but Bernie Sanders also, he is a millionaire. He has tons of houses and properties.
He has like a bunch of mansions.
He might not have been in the beginning,
but he's been nothing but a politician. So then you have to ask, how did he make millions?
Right.
You have to look into him a little bit more, Sarah. I don't know that much about him. I just am not. Look what socialism has done to
Socialism and communism
like
are the same thing.
to no, yeah, they're just under a different name. They are the exact same thing. Communism is the same thing. You community,
China.
property, socialism is the same thing, take money. And selectively socialism helps, like, have like social programs could help certain people in certain situations, like a safety net. But not socialism as a whole, because then the people at the top still rake in all the dough and everybody else is just slaves to that.
And not everybody is created equal. They're not. There are some people out there who want to better themselves, who want to learn, who strive for knowledge and education and enlightenment. And then there are those who just want to lay around and smoke weed or play video games. And there's no way that they should make all the same amount of money, you know. I don't believe a burger flipper at Burger King
daily works really hard, like all those landlords. Right. And if they didn't get it from a trust fund, then how did they get the money to buy those places? Because some landlords are hard workers and others aren't.
Yep.
Some are just trust fund babies who don't care. Again, it's about caring about people. If we individually all actually cared, we could make a difference socially without socialism. You know what I mean? Helping our neighbors, helping our friends, helping our family. But even families been divided. Everything, the kids against parents, brothers against sisters. Like, people over this Trump stuff have lost family members. If they, you say something wrong to somebody in your family that even seems like you might support Trump, well, then they disown you.
Right. But anybody who says that capitalism, doesn't work really hasn't looked at our country. I mean, when we first started settling in the West and people came out here with wagons, from the East Coast, if it wasn't for people caring about one another,
right,
there'd be nobody out. There'd be no West out here.
Right.
They were not selfish. They all were dreamers, and they struggled and they supported one another. There was no cops or law enforcement when people first started settling out here. And if something happened, you go to your neighbor and say, hey, I need help. They'd be like, hell yeah, I'll help you. Because when they need help,
right.
They're gonna,
and that was true.
right.
But then
and
you still
they
had
watched
the
each other's
people.
But they watched each other's backs.
Right.
They if one group family was being attacked, your neighbors would come over
to ruin the whole thing. Because then one greedy person gets themselves in a situation where they can exert pressure on other people, and then they do it, and they ruin it for everybody else. And that's what happens. I mean, it's just like anything else. Like, one person does something wrong, and then the laws, everything has to change because of one person. Now everybody else has to be punished because of one person.
But back then it wasn't like that. It really wasn't, because but like I said, when we were settling in the West, people weren't kissing the ass of the minorities or the wine asses or the pushovers. Oh my God, you hurt my feelings. You didn't call me the right right what do you call it, pronoun. They say, get over it. Toughen up, buttercup. We would not have formed the United States if we did that. You imagine, during the creation of this country, having to, oh well, shoot, we can't do that because we might offend these people.
I don't know.
They kill comedy. You can't even get a good comedian anymore.
No, because
I do miss the old days. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
People used to make fun of everybody.
Archie Bunker the other night, and just the theme song would be so inflammatory to so many people.
Stereotypes come, there's a place they actually come from. You want to make fun of that's fine. I mean, I think a lot of like black comedians who make fun of white, you nailed it on the head. But I mean, you can't do that if you're a white guy making fun of black people anymore, or Asian people. All these white comedians they're gone.
Well, they can't say anything.
No, but now they're even getting like on the black comedians. What was the one on Netflix? Dave Chappelle. Funny as hell, man.
But
And
he said something they
oh
didn't
yeah,
like.
he said triggering words, man.
Hmm.
And it's like they kill comedy. They really did, man.
Right. Well, we should all be able to laugh at ourselves too. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, none of us are perfect.
No.
None of us are. And so we should be able to just laugh at our, our
Right. The
imperfections. And
old Saturday Night Lives and the old In Living Colors. You
Don
know.
Rickles.
I mean, it was funny stuff, but you
Hmm.
can't do half that crap no more.
No,
You can't.
no, you can't. You really can't.
All right.
And you should be able to, but you just
Mm.
can't. And this is another thing that I'm seeing a lot of, right? Where they actually, so I don't know about any of you, but I've had 5 kids, and I also have helped to raise a number of other kids. And so anyone who knows kids knows that if a kid falls down and they hurt themselves, you know right away, because the reaction is instant if it's a true, hurt. But if they fall down and they didn't really, the way that you respond to them will determine how they respond to it.
Mm.
So if you say, "You're fine, get up, brush yourself off, you're okay, don't worry about it," they will, and then everything will be fine. But if you say, "Oh my goodness, you're not okay, come here, let me hug you and kiss you,"
Mm.
and then they cry and they get upset and they're like, "What's wrong with me?" And so I see a lot of this happening in the school system that I'm on, all the stuff I'm dealing with here. They're like teaching them to
Victimhood.
have, right, to have PTSD and things like that.
Oh,
Like
there's that
they're
word again.
labeling them with that. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna have PTSD," and so the kid's like, "Well, I don't know what that is," but then they start, trying to figure out what the symptoms are, and then they'll model it because it gets them attention. And we're all seeking attention of some sort, right? We all
Not
want to be
all of
cared.
us.
I mean, we all want to
Some
be
of us are
cared
being
about.
hermits.
When kids do. Kids are seeking. You see it all the time. Kids don't care if they get bad attention or good attention as long as they get attention. And so some kids act out because that's the only way that they know to get attention. And so, as the adults in the world, you don't want to encourage them to have things that will clearly give them mental problems for the rest of their lives, because there are people who truly have these issues from really severe events, and you don't want that to be diminished by everybody having it because of something so silly as somebody said a word they didn't like. And that's the kind of thing that's happening now. Have you seen the video JFK to 9/11, a rich man's trick? It's like 3.5 hours long. No, QQ, I haven't seen that. Free college, free healthcare. Yeah, right. More like tax pays, right? Nothing's free. People need to understand nothing is free. Somebody's paying for it. And it is the people that are going out working every day and paying their taxes. And not everybody's doing that. And there are people who say, "Why would I go out and work if I can just make a living?" Like, they're going to pay for my rent, they're going to pay for my health care, they're going to buy my food, they're going to give me a phone. I mean, why do they work? I mean, and can you blame them in a sense? I mean, I don't really promote laziness, but I mean, in a way, I can see that's easy to do. And that's how, was it LBJ? He said it years ago. He said, "I'll get the black vote. I'll have them, terrible people," whatever he said, vote in Democrat for the next 200 years. Now, again, I don't want to get him picking a side here, but he said that. And then we seen that after he implemented the welfare system, what happened is the breakdown of those families, because married people don't get as much from welfare. So why would you get married? You can't get as much. So this kind of stuff has been done intentionally. We all see it. We shouldn't be arguing about which stupid candidate we should get. We should be arguing about how to fix it. Not really arguing.
There's no
Talking
way to fix it.
constructively.
That's all done, man. That is all.
No.
There's no way to fix it. You need to completely dismantle it and then restructure it completely. You can't fix broken, and this system is completely broken.
I
It
love
needs to
Archie
be.
Bunker, Ingrid.
It needs to be completely. Both sides need to be gone. Both sides need to be gone, and it needs to be all redone. And like I said, no more billionaires running for president or
Revolution?
Congress.
Well, we think it's coming. We're not starting it, but we think it's coming.
I honestly believe that this civil war that we're in is going to lead
But I honestly
to a
think that
revolution.
it's being put on us intentionally.
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
created the divide to create the
I think
fighting, to create the civil war. So
no.
then
I
China
think
and Russia and all those
right,
people
but
could come and invade us.
that's part of that globalist takeover. We are the last cog on the wheel. You can't have a one world
Yeah, New
global
World Order,
order
right?
without taking us out of the
Right, because
right.
we're the only free
Mhm.
people who have the ability to defend ourselves.
Right, because of the Second Amendment. That's
Right.
why there's been such a huge, huge push
Right, and that's
to get
why
our guns. And our guns were never meant for hunting or protecting myself from my neighbor. The Second Amendment was put there for one reason only, and that is to protect ourselves from our own government.
right, from tyranny. What was
Hence
it?
the reason I said,
Who
and
was it? Which president said to what kind of government did you give us? The old lady asked.
Benjamin
And
Franklin.
he said, a republic if you can keep it.
That's right.
Right.
Yep. That's after he walked out of the signing,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave us the Second Amendment to protect ourselves from our own government.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't teach this stuff in school no more, because if they teach that stuff in school, you know, things would have never gotten as
No,
bad
instead
as
they're
it is now.
teaching trauma.
Right. Teaching trauma. Yeah,
Right.
everyone got to go do trauma
Right.
lessons at this school.
Right.
That's no lie.
Learned helplessness. All these other things are things that are actually being taught.
Right. Oh, no. Here's a kicker. So, for those of you who were here earlier and heard everything that was going on, you know, with my son Max and my daughter Rhea, this is a kicker. So the school got a brand new superintendent, right? And guess where this woman's from? All right, you're not gonna get. She's from Florida. But guess what school in Florida she came from? I'll give you guys all a minute. Let's see. Come on. Guess what school this woman came from in Florida? Anybody? Put in the comments.
Schools are now communist training camps. That's right, Dan. Glad to have you here. I love lefties too. I'm a lefty.
She came
left-handed.
Yeah. She came from the school in Florida that was all shot up. Anyone know what it is? Anyone remember?
I know.
Tell them.
Yeah, Parkland, hats off to the
Yes.
bull.
Right. And
You
guess
got
what?
it.
One of her first things she's doing, she's sending all these teachers here to a
Trauma training, because everyone has trauma.
that came out of her mouth. She's sending
She
all the
actually
teachers.
put it in the newspaper. She wrote a letter to the newspaper. Yeah, and it's an emotional academic thing that she's going for here.
She brought her trauma from Florida here. She's hiding out here, right? And now, because she has trauma, she has to send all the teachers here to trauma training so that they can teach all the kids here to be victims.
Yeah.
I kid you not.
Mhm.
This is the God's honest truth.
Mhm. It's terrifying, because you don't want to teach people to be victims. You want to teach them to be the victors. You want to teach them to be strong. That's right. We all do have trauma. I'm not disagreeing with that. We all go through things, and things affect us all differently. So somebody else might go through something that seems way more traumatic than something somebody else went through. But for the individual, it could be just as traumatizing. We don't want to belittle that. But it's how you deal with it. You don't sit there and say, oh, you're a victim, you poor thing, you poor thing. You say, no, look at how strong you are. You made it through that, and you learned something from it, and you move
You know,
on.
when I was a kid, it wasn't called trauma. It was called, I had some problems, but I'm over it. Now it's all trauma.
Not pushing any of it. I'm just saying we can
You want
acknowledge
trauma
people's
is something you get from
pain,
a
we can-
car accident or
Right.
something you get from
Well, maybe
fighting
that's
in a
not the right
war.
word, but the fact of the matter is everybody has struggles, things that they have to deal
Yeah,
with.
struggles.
And instead
Some
of looking at
problems.
it like, that's a bad thing, we should look at it like, what were we told when we were kids? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know what I mean? Like that. Where's that philosophy?
Oh.
If it didn't kill you, then you're stronger, and you learn something from it. You should be better for having that experience, and
But
that's what life's
nowadays,
about.
if it doesn't kill you, you should get a reward. You
And a
know,
trophy
a
just for
trophy.
showing up,
Yeah.
not because you worked hard. That's another problem too, because
Oh,
then,
everyone's created equal.
well, then it, well, we are,
We're
well, we
not all
are,
created equal
we
in the
are,
fact that some of us.
well,
I'm
we all
not.
have different
Right.
abilities, right?
We all created equal with our rights, our God-given rights. I'm talking about with abilities and knowledge, how
Right,
people have
right. I can't
more
say,
drives than other. But
right.
I'm just, it's silly now that they don't want to give kids who want to do better, who strive to do better, who have dreams and ambitions a lot bigger than a lot of their classmates.
Right.
Oh no, knock little Timmy down. He's getting too high on his pedestal,
Mm-hmm.
and they literally do dumb these kids down. If they think your kid is excelling too much, they'll dumb them down to keep them on the same level as everybody else. If you got an exceptionally smart kid, they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, well we'll take you over there and you can do that work because you can do it," but the rest of these kids can't. It's
No,
like,
because they
"Oh
don't want to
no,
make those
you
kids
gotta
feel bad
you
about
gotta sit there
themselves.
and do the same friggin' work over and over and over again because
Mm-hmm.
the rest of these little twits can't do it."
Well,
You know,
I don't know that I would have said it the same way as you, but you made your
it's
point.
just it's an example. It's not, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the truth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
some of these kids are lazy. They have nothing but Minecraft on their mind. You
Right,
know,
but that's another problem. And again, I think all of this has been socially engineered
yeah, it
to
has
get us right to where we
destroy
are
the
right now.
family, take over the schools. You're absolutely right.
And I think that, if we can see through that, then, we really can't. It's hard to be angry at somebody when you know that they've been
Been deceived, right?
manipulated into that
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah, I'm not angry about it. I think I feel bad for them, but still, it is what it is. They have done the damage to a point where it's just about unreversible.
Right. Well,
Mm,
because we all slept through
mm.
it.
Right,
We have to
right.
take some responsibility for that as well.
Absolute, absolutely, absolutely. You know, every other group marches in the street over any little thing, but nobody on the right has ever marched in the street. Well, not till the 17th. You know, for any reason
Hmm.
other than to support Trump. You know, all these other groups, they
Good
get a.
times create weak men.
Mm,
And QQ says, no child left behind. Now some can't read after graduation. Great program.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yep, she knows what I was talking about.
And Gray
Mm,
says that you're right. When he was 6 years old,
mm,
they rebuilt the school computer's operating systems to set up educational games
mhm.
that the school didn't even provide. I was the information technology tech at age 7. Good for you.
Yep.
And some kids are still held up, but they're held up for the wrong reasons. They're held up like to try to like shame other people, or to like, it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy. It really is. And they use the kids all the time. Like, we care so much about separating families, and all this, but where's that outrage for, another child who's like an American child, right? Like they don't care when they have to be separated from their
Mm,
parents for one reason or another,
right.
like because the school said that something happened that didn't happen, and somebody who's never had a kid comes into that house and says, well, I don't really like what I see going on here. I'm going to take this kid out of here. There's no outrage for that, and then that kid gets put into some kind of foster care system, and and then PTSD and trauma and all this stuff.
PSD.
It's all, you know what I
That's
mean?
something you get from war. you
Uh,
know.
I'm just saying, they create it. They
Mm,
create it, and there's no outrage. It's like selective outrage.
mm.
Like we love children, we care about children, but we think that
They're
it's
the biggest
okay
users and
to kill
abusers
a
of children.
baby at full term and then still call it an abortion. But then there's a little 16-year-old girl who, she says the baby's born stillborn, and she tries to cremate it. If that little, and she goes to jail. She's in trouble. I don't know if she went to jail, but she's in trouble. But if that same little girl, without permission from her parents, went to an abortion clinic and paid the money, and then they were
Why
able
the
to
same?
take the fetal cells, get paid for that, we'd never hear about it, and it wouldn't be called murder. But murder's still murder. says none of the teachers even know how to do anything with computers.
Yeah.
Teachers don't even know who Vinsurf is or what Linux is.
Absolutely.
And then Trenton says most people in America are fat and lazy and out of shape and stay indoors. When the grid goes down, they will drop like flies. Unfortunately, Trenton, we do not consent.
Right,
Ohio says they love everyone but you. It's like the world is ran by the VA. And then Gray says we literally blew almost $1 trillion on these computers and closed source Windows operating systems, making Bill Gates the richest in the world.
Yep.
Was never about education, only cash. That's what it's all about. It's all
Always
about the
about the
money.
cash.
That's what it comes down to. Like I was making the point about that little girl. Had she gone and paid for her abortion, we would never hear about the murder of her child. We only hear about it because
She had
it
murdered.
happened.
It was stillborn.
That's
she only got charged with defacing a corpse.
yeah, right. Right, something like that, damaging a corpse or something. But the point is you wouldn't hear about it at all. This dead baby is dead, regardless of how it happened. And you wouldn't hear about it at all if she had paid for it. It's all about the money. That's all it ever comes down to.
Yep.
Sad.
All about the money that's not even backed by gold. That they keep printing
Right,
out, they keep printing out every day and in such quantities that when you come down to it, it's not even worth the paper it's printed on.
Right. And we have this ridiculous deficit that our children we'll never pay off.
No.
Our children's children, great grandchildren will never pay off, and they keep just increasing it. And if you or I were to try to just bounce a few checks, we'd go to jail. I mean, just to buy food.
If I owed $1 trillion and I went to go try taking out another loan, I wouldn't get it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if you tried, you might be convicted of fraud because you knew you couldn't get it and you tried anyway.
The only way to get rid of debt is, how's one country get rid of debt?
War.
That's right. You know it.
Yep.
It's unavoidable. The civil war we are in now is going to weaken the country to the point where we will be invaded by Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. There'll be boots on the ground.
That's done.
Some of them are already here. And this is just the beginning. This is part of the depopulation takedown of America. It's happening right now. It's not a matter of when. It's not it. We're in it. We're in the crap right now. What's going on with the coup? Trump came out, said, "Yep. The more I look into this impeachment, the more I believe it's a coup." 3 days later, I believe it was 3 days later, the Marine reserves were activated for use in this country, overriding how do you say it?
Posse
comitatus, overriding posse comitatus, because you're not supposed to use
U.S. troops on American
soil, right? And then after that, you had that lady coming out saying, "Oh, we're going to arrest Trump and his whole cabinet. We're going to need to find where we're going to put them." She right there in the meeting. The video's out there. We're going to arrest them.
Okay, but
we're
what is
put
that?
them away, right? And then you had from that to that guy coming out and saying that, yep, no matter what happens, we're not going to win the 2020 election. We have to take out Trump.
Point is that's all like political theater, and they've been saying that they're going to impeach him when he was just elected. They were talking about impeachment.
But you don't get. We're in this shit right
They
now.
have the text messages from we all knew this.
Yes.
We knew this the whole time, so this is no surprise. And here
we
have
right
another
now.
comment says the fractional banking system is literally impossible to pay it back because there literally isn't enough money. That's done by design too, because when you go to take a loan, they literally type in the computer, "Okay, I'm going to take $1,000 loan." They type in $1,000 fee. Poof, the $1,000 appears, and you get it. but they don't type in the rest for the interest that they're going to pay,
That's right.
that you're going to have to pay on that loan. So the
So,
interest money doesn't exist. It never gets typed into that computer. So it never existed to begin with. It's never going
so
to
you can't
exist.
pay back a loan because
It's never
enough
going to
money.
be there. So it's literally like indentured servitude. We are all
Ah,
already slaves. We've been slaves to
our
the almighty
forefathers
dollar this
warned
whole
us
time.
about this years ago.
Right, and that and who was it at the Great Depression? FDR
Mhm.
did this with by getting the Fed. The Fed's a big problem too. They're a private company. They're called the Fed. How deceptive is that? And this is what the Bible talks about all the time: deception, deception, deception. We're constantly being deceived, and those of us who are waking up to it, it's
Who
frustrating
was it that
to
took
be
us off the
awake
gold
in a world.
standard? You know,
I think it was FDR. I think he's the one who signed in the Fed. No,
Abraham Lincoln.
really?
Well, he signed in the Fed, but it was Abraham Lincoln took us off the gold standard during the Civil War because they needed to pay the military and didn't have enough funds to do it. So that's when what do they
That's
call
when
'em?
they gave this back to the
the
English.
green the greenbacks or
Mhm.
what were they calling
They
them?
borrowed from England again.
They took uh they call them greenbacks or something like that, and that's where the paper money came from. And it was
I want to
shortly
read
after
this.
that.
Yeah, Yang is going to give everyone $1,000 a month. Yeah, I don't know if
Uh,
you can live off that, but I can't, and I don't have very many bills because I live in the dirt. But okay. And then Philip says, Isaiah 5, chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that
Amen.
put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. We are in the deep right now.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely, Philip. Thank you for sharing that verse. It says, LOL, how do I owe money on debt that doesn't exist? Sadly, you're right, bro. Every war started with money issues, then war. Bread and circuses only works for so long, but war can ship off those who think. Oh, yeah, for sure. Don't think, that'll get you in trouble. The Fed was around in the 1800s, and Andrew Jackson killed it. Yeah, well, then they came back around,
Yep.
and now nobody's killing it. They're in control. The current Fed started in 1913, I believe. It really took off in the 70s when Nixon wiped out the gold backing for the US dollar. Well, I know when FDR was in, they had to give everybody,
They
patriotic
outlawed
people,
gold. Yep.
gave their gold to the government to try to be patriotic and save the country. And it was all used against them.
Yeah, the outlawed gold.
Sad. It's really sad.
Hey, thank you very much, everybody. Look at that. I got 14 view people and 14 thumbs up.
Yay.
Yay, thank you.
Mhm.
That's a good percentage.
Mhm. Roosevelt orders Americans to turn gold in for
Yep.
dollars, which creates gold reserves at Fort Knox. Yep.
Which people say
That
is not
was in
even
the
there no
30s
more.
during the Great Depression.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and people
FDR, right.
people said that there's no
Yeah.
gold in Fort Knox. It's all
My
gone.
grandparents warned me. You're lucky your grandparents are awake. My father's still asleep.
Yeah, my family's asleep too. Her
It's
family's
easier
asleep.
to be asleep, though. If
We're
you're
all
asleep,
alone.
then you
That's
don't
why
have
we
to.
all migrate to YouTube.
Right.
You know, we have nobody. We're honestly in liberal hell, man. You know, I mean, I got a couple of neighbors I can talk to, but they still don't get it, and they still think I'm crazy.
Well,
You
most
know,
people think you are, honey, but I
uh,
love you.
but you know, you try talking to people that aren't on YouTube or on our little community here, and they're completely lost.
Well, most people just don't want to hear it because it takes them out of their safe space, right? Like if they have to think about something, like it's the sad part is it won't be until, right?
The
There's
UN troops are walking down the
well, it might
street.
not. It could be something like the food shortages. I mean, there's a lot of things we're facing right now, not just war. There's a lot of things we're facing right now, and isn't it funny that they're all going to converge at the same time? We all know that the heartland has been flooded all summer long. Crops have not been able to grow.
Yep.
We do not have the produce that we
Nope.
need. We're going to face food shortages. We are. Then we see that there's these different oil refineries all over the world being
Blowing up.
blown up. You know, so clearly they're working on that angle too. So there's so many things that are power outages, EMPs, threats from all over the world, and then threats right here internally. I mean,
Economies
it's
collapsing.
everywhere. It's all around us, and we have it coming from all angles. And it won't
Mm,
be until
mm,
something truly affects
mm,
people in their own daily lives, where they can't go to work, or they can't feed their kids, or they can't, and the sad part is people who aren't thinking about it now, they're going to be no different than the people that are at the top right now taking advantage of us. They're going to be like, well, I know that so and so down the street prepared, so I'll just go and steal it from them.
Oh, that was Rocket
Yeah,
Boy
well,
said
I
that.
know
Yeah.
some. I had a friend who I said,
Mm,
just prepare, just in case. What if there's a bad storm and you can't go to the grocery? Just make sure you have some stuff to take care of the kids. He said,
mm.
I have a gun. I'll just go to my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
Dude literally said that.
there are a lot of
Mm,
people who think like that, and that's not fair. That's not
mm,
fair to people who
mm,
have been
mm,
awake, who have been trying to prepare for their families, and
oh,
maybe to have a little bit extra to
mm,
trade with their neighbors and help each other. I mean, that's the way I've been thinking. I've been thinking, what do I have? I have clothes, stuff like that. That if
mm.
I needed to trade, and somebody needed some clothes, and I needed some medicine or food or whatever, I'm thinking about working together with people. It's not my thought to just go and steal from somebody who needs what they have. That's just not right.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he said that. Man, that was a friend of ours. We were babysitting his kids for a while when we were going to school. We were babysitting, and yeah, that was his answer.
I'm with you,
Yeah.
Philip. I follow the Most High too, and I don't look at you funny. You're dead on. You will be safe.
Mm,
Regardless of what happens to you physically. And Gray says you can just create a new currency and use it. And if enough people switch over, the power belongs to the people if it's
mm,
a democratically ruled currency. Yes,
mm,
if you could get enough people awake enough to all agree to that. We can't get people to agree to the simplest things, like whether or not somebody like, Hillary's corrupt, right? There are a lot of people out there that still think she's just wonderful. And we know there's a death trail behind her like a mile long, whether it's the guys in Benghazi or the people who have the dirt on her that she's had killed. I mean, even Epstein, who, that was another Clinton, maybe not Hillary, but still involved with Clinton. The guy hung himself from a bunk bed. He's 6 feet tall. How stupid do you think we are to believe that? But yet, people believe it. And do we hear about it anymore? No, that's just under the rug, too, like so many other things that are happening.
mm. All this stuff that comes out on the news, you hear 1 or 2 days, they make a little thing out of it, and then poof, they just drop it. It's all cover up. The news, something needs to be done with them too. They're all corrupt, propaganda,
Lots of
lying.
coffee, Mr. Frank. I'm with you.
I
He
eat
said
coffee.
stock up on lots of
Mm,
coffee.
yep, yep. Sad, really is, man. Truly sad. Really sad what's going on.
But the supply, Gray says, as far as shortages, it could happen if the currency situation goes south. Supply chains are long and easily broken. Right, but they're not. It's not just like where the crops are supposed to be grown. We
Yeah,
could
all
call it
that
weather
other fun.
warfare,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
That could have been what happened, right? But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just Mother Nature. But that's a definite problem. And then there's also the fact that, these transportation trucks getting things from one place, they rely on the oil, and that stuff's being blown up. You know what I mean? So and then of course if the currency fails or whatever, right? Like who knows? I mean, they're just shutting people's power off for the heck of it.
Yeah,
And
supposedly because they're afraid of wind. Like I
right,
said earlier,
right.
I
And
don't, I don't know if
there's
they were
been wind in
listening.
California
Yep.
all since California's
Well,
existed. I mean,
I
I've never lived in California, never even been
right,
there,
well,
and I've heard of it, the Santa Ana winds,
right,
right?
but I told you, what was it, Brian from High Impact? He was looking up like the weather reports, and they were only talking about like 7, 8, 10 mile an hour winds. There's like no big storm. 'Cause it's not like
Right,
our
it's not
windy
like
season.
100-mile-hour,
Right, right. Well,
60.
our windy season is our windy season. This is nothing, you know.
Yeah, the weather, the air spraying's a bad thing too, Mr. Frank.
Yes,
And it
sir.
is all a distraction. That's the
Mhm.
point. We're supposed to be distracted, and there are so many things to
Right.
be distracted by right now.
And this is where I'll probably lose some people because this is another controversial subject, but everyone seemed to have forgotten 2016, actually, it was 2015, before we moved out here. Breaking news, breaking news. Scientists have just discovered a ninth planet in our solar system. Okay.
We were out here then.
Yeah. No. That when we came out
We
here,
moved out here in 2009.
I'm talking
Oh, here to
here.
Jemez. Okay.
Right. So 2015, right? They come out. There's a breaking news, that scientists discovered a new planet, brand new, never before discovered planet, the ninth planet, right? It's just behind Pluto, which, don't forget, they downgraded Pluto from planetary status, took it off. Now it's a microplanet, whatever they call it. So this planet they discovered, technically,
Would be the
is
10th.
not planet 9, it's planet 10, the biblical planet 10, the one Zechariah Sitchin talked about.
Okay.
Nibiru, right? So yeah, we discovered that. It's out by Pluto. It's 6 to 7 times bigger than Earth, but we can't see it.
Right.
Right. And it was 2 years prior to that, right? 2 years prior to that, scientists come out, oh, breaking news. Hey, we live in a binary solar system. That's right, binary. Most solar systems, they said, are binary solar systems, which means we have two suns.
Mm-hmm.
We have two suns. They said this is a brown dwarf star that is a companion star to our sun. And it shines in the infrared, so it's very hard for you to see.
Right. Now
Because we don't see,
infrared.
that's right. And in 2014, 13, we were picking this up actually before 2012
2011.
on our night camera.
Mm-hmm.
During the day, it would show up because our camera picked up infrared.
Mm-hmm.
I took it to my astronomy teacher. I said, what the hell is this? He's like, oh, it's Venus. I said, really? Venus
Or
is that huge?
Mercury. I got Mercury. When I went to my astronomy teacher, they said Mercury.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has forgotten about these planets that are out there,
Right.
inching every day closer and closer
Right.
to
But
Earth.
it's climate change.
Right. Now, these planets are bigger than Earth. What happens when you put two magnets together and
One being very big.
one being very big and one being very small, depending on where the poles are? If they're north to north, they're going to attract. If they're north to south, they'll attract because opposites attract.
Mm-hmm.
If they're north to north, we're going to be pushed away.
Mm-hmm.
Our planet has been in a huge wobble for years now.
Mm-hmm.
All these tides that you've seen on YouTube,
Right,
where the
where the
tide's gone out
beach-
for
right, the water's gone.
miles, and people are like, oh my God, it's going to be a tsunami, and nothing ever comes.
Mm-hmm.
That is the geomagnetic forces of those planets
Interacting with ours.
interacting with us.
Right.
Everyone seem to have forgotten that there's a whole, and they let it slip. It's a whole solar system.
System
That's
with
right.
our sun.
Coming into our solar system,
Mhm.
that's been interacting with our solar system for years now.
Mm-hmm.
Here they are screaming, and this is a kicker too, right? Screaming climate change. We need to get down to carbon zero.
Right. We all are carbon, by the way. So
That's right.
carbon
We
zero,
are
we're all dead.
carbon-based life forms. Trees are carbon-based life forms.
All the
We are
animals,
carbon-based life. So if you get down to carbon zero, right? Hint, hint. That means they're gonna wipe all of us off the face of the earth. Because if one of us is left,
There's carbon.
there's carbon. It's ridiculous. But everyone forgot about this solar system coming in, interacting with us. And a few of us out there believe, in YouTube world, that the chemtrailing, because they only do it now certain times, there's an actual pattern to it. When those planets are visible in our sky, they'll paste it. And then you start getting the weird halos,
Mm-hmm.
and the weird rainbows and this like Doppler light shift in the sky, and the earthquakes,
Mm-hmm.
the volcanoes.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, the funny stuff going on with the ocean is all a direct effect.
Well, they
of these
also
planets.
there's also plenty of astronomers and other people in that field talking about all the effects that are happening to these other planets right now, right?
All
So
heating up.
all of them are heating up, right?
That-
Yeah,
that-
how could it be our carbon, right? Our climate change affecting Jupiter or Saturn or whatever? It's
Well,
not.
they all buy the same cars.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So that's one part of it. And I have to say, we have literally lived outside, like outside for the most part. I mean, yes, we have a trailer we go into, but we're out, it's too small. We don't stay in there all the time. We're outside all the time. And I see pretty much every single day where the sun rises and where the sun sets. And I have to tell you that I know about precession, and I know that it's supposed to move slightly every day. But there
Right.
just a month ago, not even a month ago, a couple weeks ago, the sun set completely in the north. It was not even on the western horizon. It was completely in the north. And then the next night, it was back to the western horizon. Now, I don't know how you account for that, but I saw it with my own eyes. Of course, I don't have a decent enough camera to video it for you. And of course, how would you know that that's north if you don't live here? I could tell you that that's north if you don't live here. So I don't bother doing that kind of stuff. But I saw it, and I've seen it more than once. It rises in weird places, and the next day it's so far down the horizon line. That's just not normal. That's not, it's just not normal.
So my old phone, before it died, and I think this might be part of the reason why it died, was I decided that where I live, if you go and watch some of my videos, I have a beautiful mountain range right behind me with tons of little nooks and
True, Philip.
crannies and very good points of reference. So I started filming every day from the same spot in my driveway, the rising sun and the setting sun. I was going to do a video to prove that there was a wobble. Well, shortly after I started making that video, right before I was getting ready to put that up on YouTube, is when my phone started to act up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it started to act up when I was talking to my buddy Travis, too, who's over in the Air Force. And
he actually saw the sun set and then come back up and set again.
Right. Right.
Philip says, Most High is showing the signs in the heavens. And that's written too.
Right.
It's all been written. Read your Bibles, folks.
As above, so below. There'll be signs in the heavens, in the moon, in the stars, and on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Something like that, but like you said.
Yeah, no, there'll be signs in the heavens and wars and rumors of wars. You know, I don't know. I know plenty of people who have said in different time periods in history, you know, that we're living in the end times. Lots of people have probably believed that. And, you know, maybe I'm crazy for believing it now, but it really sure does seem to fit. And if Satan isn't in control of this world, I don't know who is.
Bless Lord.
When the good can be deemed bad and the bad can be deemed good. And I don't remember that as a kid. I don't remember that a criminal, any criminal, couldn't run for even school board. You know what I mean? You couldn't, if you had any kind of, even if they thought you might have some kind of criminality, you couldn't run for even the lowest of the lowest levels. And now they can show criminal activity, and yet you can still run for the highest office in the land. It just doesn't make sense to me. So We Do Not Consent says, I got 2 suns setting in 2017 Cincinnati at 8 p.m. Still on my phone.
Yep.
Won't upload. Of course it won't upload.
Yep, I had the same problem.
Yep.
I have pictures of 2 suns. I've had pictures of 2 moons. I've had same problem. Won't upload. I try sending them to my friend Travis.
Yeah, Pope
He won't
Francis is
send.
not okay. That guy's bad. I think
Yeah.
he's the Satan.
Isn't that what was it, Lord Palpatine or whatever?
Yeah, doesn't he look like him? Doesn't he look like a Sith Lord?
Sith Lord. They all look like Sith Lords. What's the other dude's name? Soros. You know?
Yeah.
They're both Sith Lords.
Yeah, even the Rothschild guy there, Jacob or whatever, Lord Jacob Roth, Lord. He calls himself Lord. Please,
Yeah.
get over yourself, man.
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, I wonder if wasn't George Lucas used them as the model.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wendy says
What?
Pope Francis said that Jesus failed at the cross. Really? I'm saved. Guess he's not.
You know, was I say I stopped and pointed it out on people standing there. My screen went blank. I didn't get it fast enough.
Which one are you looking for?
The next, the one on the bottom, I guess, would be the next text. The next.
I stopped and pointed it out to people standing there, and they went, huh, and kept walking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, don't point it out. They don't want to know. That will just take them right out of their little happy space. They're too busy on Facebook.
Yeah, they won't. Nobody looks at the sky, not unless you put a cell phone up there. If the moon was or the sun was a friggin' phone screen, they'd be looking at it all the time.
Right. If they had a like
Mm.
Facebook or something on there.
Yeah. Yep.
The Vatican openly praised Lucifer on live television. Yeah, no, it's disgusting what's going on. It's absolutely disgusting. Head in the sand, eyes to see. Yep. Just if you have your head in the sand, then you don't have to worry about anything. I used to think that though. I mean, ignorance in a way is truly bliss. If you don't know, then you don't have to be responsible. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it. So in that way, I'm a little jealous of them, I guess.
She's been wishing she could go back to sleep ever since she awoke.
Yeah, I don't like being awake. I want to sleep.
I kid you not. She said on more than one occasion, I hate you.
Waking me up.
Yeah. But I'm a complete opposite. I like to know. I want to know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
so-
I'm getting tired. It's 1 o'clock.
Yeah, well, that's the last log right there. Yeah.
I used to see. Have you seen what he's doing on Amazon? Female priests taking confessions and baptisms, etc.
Well,
They're doing that on Amazon. You have to pay for it. It's a blessing and a curse to be awake. I agree. Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad that I am. I really am. But at the same time, wouldn't it be nice to just not, just be able to be in Facebook land and not care?
yeah, until the troops are walking down the street, you're like, oh, what's
Yeah,
going
well,
on?
you know what? They might come anyway.
Mm.
So what the hell?
Well,
Cross that bridge when I come to it. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're all thinking.
that's what the moon looks like from here tonight. Let's see.
No, the Amazon. Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's-
I really have good cameras, so.
talk about your phone. My phone's awesome. It's a new phone.
Yes, I think that's a very good shot of it. It's not like you can zoom in or.
Yeah, I can't. I'm afraid to touch the screen because it might die like it did earlier. I was trying to read I don't know if it was me or if it was YouTube, but I was trying to read the
So
comments, and I touched the screen, and all of a sudden it buffeted and then went
boom, you're
blank.
gone.
And it's
So
not like
last
there's a
night-
shut off switch. There's no shut off switch or nothing. So yeah, last night.
I went to I go to like a Bible study, if you will. They call it a fellowship. It's not really a church. And they had these guest people come in to talk about things, and it was very informal. But they started talking about things that I never really had thought about in the Bible. I'm going there because I really want to understand what the Bible says. As much as I've read it, I don't have a true understanding. And one of the things that they talked about that was so interesting was, I do have the verses written down, and maybe some of the time I can get them out to you. But it was very much about like God and the counsel of God, like they're the sons of God, like Lucifer, angels, principalities and powers. And the version of the Bible that I have said that God divided the nation amongst the children of Israel. But what this gentleman was saying was that at this time in history, at this point in the Bible, in the Old Testament, Israel wasn't, so that it was like a mistranslation. It had been mistranslated into the King James Version, and what it really meant was that he amongst his sons of the prince, and like people, like, or not people, but beings, supernatural beings like Satan, and that they were understand how there's, because not all of them were good. Obviously, Lucifer wasn't. So it really made me understand how all this evil is out here in the world. People want to say, oh, why is God let this happen? It's written, it has to happen. He did give them power, but the Bible also says that all power, all of it will be to Jesus once he takes his enemies and makes them the footstool of Jesus. And there's other places where it references how they will be put under him, like the footstool. But we just haven't got to that place yet. So I think we're close, but I don't know what close is, because like in the Bible it says a week and then it's like 428 years. So I don't know. Maybe we're not all that close.
Yeah, they started animal sacrifices today.
It's not about religion, it's about a personal relationship and understanding what the word is.
Who said that about the animal sacrifices?
I don't know. Where is it? Did you hear that they started animal sacrifices today? He's coming soon. No, I did not hear that. Google and Amazon, if you have one of those little things in your house and you say,
Prophecy.
Alexa, who's Jesus? It says, I don't know. And then if you say, who's like, I don't know, Muhammad, or, like from any other religion, any of their people, they know exactly. But if you ask who Jesus is, they don't know. None of them, not Google's, not Alexa's. That tells you something. That says something to me anyway.
Yeah,
There's-
it does.
There's true power of that.
Yeah. Once again, for everybody that's out there who said that they were going to send Max stuff for homeschooling, let's say thank you again.
Yeah.
Just in case you weren't on earlier, during the first live stream that went dead. I know when they found out that a bunch of you found out that Max was being homeschooled again. You said that your kids were homeschooled and you were going to send stuff out. And I just want to say thank you.
Right.
Although I haven't gotten anything yet. I haven't checked the P.O. box yet, but it's only been a couple of days, and our P.O. box is in another town. So down the road. But thanks again. Yep.
Ooh. Literally, my hand's like ice cube.
All right. Well, we want to wrap that up.
I do. I want to say good night to everybody. I really enjoy reading your comments and hearing you guys. I love different points of views, but I'm glad that for the most part we're all on the same page. I pray for all of you guys and your safety through whatever challenges you might face, whether they be, from the UN knocking on your door, or your power being shut off, or just, worrying about paying your next bill. Whatever it is, you're all in my prayers. I appreciate you all so very much, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again real soon. I mean, we do seem to have better equipment for the moment. I don't want to jinx it, but
we did set up one of those PayPal accounts because we're trying to get some money so we can get new equipment in a real generator.
right.
But we set it up, was it www.paypal.me/Tamazing
I think you
TV.
put it in the description, did you?
Yeah, it's not a link. It just tells you where you can go. But we're working on one of those Patreon things too.
Right.
So once we
Well,
start doing more videos every day,
I don't
and
know.
set up
There's a lot more to the story in terms of like what's going on with that stuff, but we appreciate any help anyone can give us. But you guys are all in my prayers for sure. And thanks for chatting with us and hanging out with us. I know you guys could be doing anything else, and you chose to spend some time with us. It means a lot to us.
Yep, and we'll be back. Be back as much as we can now, and me and Max plan on trying to do videos every day. And Max wants to build his channel up, New Mexico Max. Now we got the new
Amen, Philip.
phones, so. But
Thanks, Dan.
yeah,
QQ, Wendy, Eyes to See. Really good to hear from you again.
yep.
Mr. Frank. Who else am I missing?
We love you guys.
Renzo.
You guys are all awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody else who already went to bed.
Yeah,
Good night, guys. Talk to you soon.
we did miss you guys. We're glad we're back. Like I said, honestly, where we live is, if it wasn't for YouTube and you guys, we literally have nobody that we could talk to about any of this stuff. You know,
Mm.
really. So thank you, everybody.
All right, we'll talk again soon.
All right. Well, that's it. Over and out. Roger. Good night, everyone. Now I just got to figure out how to turn this off. For real.
It's in the chat, Lenzo. You can see. I think somebody said midnight tonight or noon tomorrow. Bye night.
All right. Good night.